Hello, this is Yogeshwar 7000 again, and I'm back with another interesting topic on Vedic astrology today. And today we'll be talking about a dasha system called the Yogini Dasha system. As we know that there are several dashas or periods which come in our lives as we progress in our lives, starting from our birth time, and they unfold, and based on these dashas we make predictions of important events in our lives. And the most important dasha system, or the periods, as we call dashas or periods, is the Vimshottari dasha system. And of course there are other dashas, Ashtottari dasha or Shula dasha or Chara dasha. We are not going to discuss all those dashas in this. Today we'll specifically be talking about Yogini Dasha system. And like I said, the most popular dasha system we follow is the Vimshottari Dasha system, which is based on the placement of moon in the Nakshatra at the time of birth. So we'll see where the moon was placed, meaning which Nakshatra was moon placed in, and we'll see as to who is the ruler or the ruling planet of that Nakshatra. So based on that we determine what period is operating, meaning which, say for example, if moon was placed in the nakshatra of Ketu, so the first period when the person starts in this life is the dasha of Ketu, and then how much moon has progressed in that particular nakshatra will determine as to what is the balance of the dasha. And then the sequence follows based on the sequence, the same sequence as has been given to us on the nakshatras, meaning which, say for example, if the person is born in the nakshatra of say for example Ashwini, which happens to be the first nakshatra also out of the 27 nakshatra. So the ruling planet we know is Ketu. So obviously the first dasha, or the first operating period, will be Ketu, and how much is the balance of Ketu will depend on how much moon has progressed in that dasha. And as we know that moon travels in one nakshatra for approximately two and a quarter days, and each nakshatra is 13 degrees and 20 minutes, so it's pretty simple to figure out as to what is the balance of the dasha. Now as far as the periods of dashas are concerned, in this case, like, we determined that the dasha will be of Ketu, so we know that, and that's been given to us by the sages, that the dasha of Ketu is going to be 7 years. So how much moon has progressed, we'll just prorate it, and then we'll figure out as to what the balance of the dasha is. And then the following dashas will also follow as per the sequence given to us by the sages based on the nakshatras. So if the first nakshatra was Ashlesha, the second nakshatra in sequence is Bharani nakshatra, and we know that Bharani's ruling planet is Venus. So we know that after Ketu it's going to be Venus, and then the third, and we've been given that period of Venus as 20 years, and then we'll move on to the third dasha, which is Sun, because of course as we know that the nakshatra of the third or the third nakshatra's ruling planet is Sun, and then we'll go to Moon, and then we go to Mars, and then we go to Rahu, and then we go to Jupiter, and then we go to Saturn, so on and so forth. So this is 120 years dasha system, which is the Vimshottari dasha system, and I'm not going to go into details on the Vimshottari dasha system because that's not what we are discussing today. I just wanted to give you a quick recap that this Vimshottari, which is the most popular dasha system, is 120 years in duration, and each of the planet has been given and assigned a certain number of years, and the sequence follows based on the sequence followed by the nakshatra ruling planet. So we know that once again, after Jupiter it's Saturn, after Saturn it's Mercury, after Mercury it's Ketu, after Ketu it's Venus, after Venus it's Sun, after Sun it's Moon, and then after moon it's Mars, and after Mars it's Rahu, and then again it's Jupiter, and then Saturn, so on and so forth. So from the first planet to the ninth planet, Rahu and Ketu both are included. It's a period of 120 years. And that's based on a normal life cycle of a human, which is 120 years. Now, today we'll not be talking about that dasha which I just discussed with you, which is the Vimshotri Dasha. We are going to be discussing about a new dasha, which is the Yogini Dasha. And this Yogini Dasha is calculated based on a 36 years cycle. It's not a 120 years cycle. So if you look at the screen, you will see that there are 8 dashas, 8 Yogini dashas, and the total period is 36 years as compared to Vimshotri Dasha, which is a total period of 120 years. This is 36 years. Okay, and the dashas are called, if you look at the screen, Mangala, Pingala, Dhyana, Brahmari, Bhadrika, Ulka, Siddha, and Sankata. 8 dashas. And the lordship is, the first dasha lord is moon, the second dasha lord is sun, the third dasha lord is Jupiter, the fourth dasha lord is Mars, the fifth dasha lord is Mercury, the sixth dasha lord is Saturn, the seventh dasha lord is Venus, the eighth dasha lord is Rahu, and there is no Ketu. So no dasha is, no Yogini Dasha rather, has been assigned to the planet Ketu. Ketu is completely ignored in this dasha system. So why is this dasha so important, and why are we studying this? Why? Because in the ancient scriptures, once it is believed that, and that's coming from the ancient scriptures, that Lord Shiva and Goddess Parvati were in the forest in the Himalayas, and Goddess Parvati asked Lord Shiva that there are so many dasha systems in astrology, but in Kali Yuga, which dasha would give us the best results? And dashas, as we know, are very important because they predict the exact timing. So that's what Devi Parvati asked Lord Shiva, which is the dasha system which will give an immediate, accurate timing of an event, as compared to all the dashas, which is the perfect dasha in Kali Yuga. And as we know that there are 4 yugas: the Krita or the Satyuga, the Treta Yuga, which is the second yuga, the third was the Dwapar Yuga, and today's day and age is Kali Yuga. So Lord Shiva replies to Goddess Parvati that there are several dashas given to us, or given to people living in this world by the ancient sages, which were excellent for the first 3 yugas, which were the Satyuga or the Krita Yuga, Treta Yuga, the second yuga, and Dwapar Yuga. But Lord Shiva said that in Kali Yuga, the dasha calculation based on Yogini Dasha is very, very accurate. That's what Lord Shiva said. And he also explained that in the period of Kali Yuga, still Vimshotri Dasha should be applied, but mainly Vimshotri Dasha will be accurate for births at night when the moon is waxing, not in the waning period. It's called Shukla Paksha in Sanskrit, but I'll just make it simple for you. So use Vimshotri Dasha only when the birth is at night during the waxing moon, and then use Ashtotari Dasha, which is another Dasha system, for days during the times when the birth is during the day, in periods of a waning moon, and waning moon is Krishna Paksha. So he made it very clear to Lady Parvati that there are, let's assume there are 3 dashas. So Vimshotri Dasha, use it for nighttime birth when the moon is waxing. Ashtotri Dasha, use it during daytime birth when the moon is waning. And in all the other cases, just use Yogini Dasha. It's going to give you very accurate results as far as the timing, because dashas or periods are about timing. So this is what is coming from the scriptures. And then the recent scholars have applied Yogini Dasha in recent times, and they have found astonishing results, very accurate results. So let's see how this dasha, the Yogini Dasha, works. And if you look at the screen once again, like I just went over the dashas and the lords of those dashas, you'll see that the moon dasha is only for 1 year. If you see in front of Mangala and moon, there's 1 year. The sun's dasha is for 2 years. The Jupiter's dasha is 3 years. Mars Dasha is 4 years, which is also Brahmari Dasha it's called. Bhadrika or Mercury Dasha is 5 years. Ulka or Saturn Dasha is 6 years. Siddha or Venus Dasha is 7 years. Sankata or Rahu Dasha is 8 years. So don't worry about these tough Sanskrit names, which is called the Yogini Dasha. Just consider Moon Dasha, Sun Dasha, Jupiter Dasha, Mars Dasha, Mercury Dasha, Saturn Dasha, Venus Dasha, and Rahu Dasha with their respective periods. Moon has a dasha of 1 year as compared to the Vimshotri. If you remember, it's 10 years. Sun is for 2 years, Jupiter is 3 years, Mars is 4 years, Mercury 5 years, Saturn 6 years, Venus 7 years, Rahu 8 years. Very simple, just remember the sequence. This sequence stays. So the first dasha will be moon, then it will be sun, then it will be Jupiter, then it will be Mars, then it will be Mercury, then it will be Saturn, then it will be Venus, then it will be Rahu, and this will complete 36 years, and once again the cycle will begin from moon. Now how do we calculate this dasha? That's a very important question. So that also is very simple. So just figure out what nakshatra you were born in, and out of the 27 nakshatra, each nakshatra will be a number. Say for example, you're born in Vishakha nakshatra. So Vishakha is the 16th nakshatra. We know that it's the 16th nakshatra. So what we do is we will take 16 and add 3 to it. So it will become 16 plus 3, which is 19. And then you divide this 19 by 8, because there are 8 planets here. So divide this 19 by 8. That's just a formula I'm trying to give based on what's been mentioned in the scriptures. So divided by 8. So the quotient is going to be 2 and the remainder is going to be 3, because 2 times 8 is 16, so that will be, the quotient is going to be 2, and the balance remainder 3 is to be noted down. Okay, so we have 3 now here. So what we'll do is we'll look at the chart, we'll see which is the third dasha, and the third dasha, as you see, is the Dhanya Dasha or the Jupiter Dasha, for which the period given is 3 years. So as an example, if a person was born in Vishakha nakshatra, which is the 16th nakshatra, you just add number 3 to it. 3 is like a constant number which they've given, regardless of which dasha you were born in. So I've just taken an example of the 16th nakshatra. It could be the first nakshatra. If it was the first nakshatra, you would add 1 plus 3. But since we're taking the example of Vishakha, which is the 16th nakshatra, we'll add 3 to 16. So it'll be 16 plus 3, 19. Divide 19 by 8. The quotient is going to be 2, which will make it 16, and then the balance remainder out of 19 minus 16 is 3, so that's the remainder is 3. So you look at the chart, see number 3, the third dasha is Jupiter's dasha, which will run for a period of 3 years. So that's how you will start with the Yogini Dasha at the time of birth. Okay, pretty simple. Now, just like in Vimshotri Dasha, we had to figure out how much moon has progressed in that particular nakshatra to find out the balance of the dasha. Similar calculation has to be applied here as well. Now, since we know that Jupiter's dasha, not in Vimshottari but in Yogini Dasha, Jupiter's dasha is 3 years, what we'll do is we will prorate it based on the degree of moon which moon has traveled into this nakshatra. So say, for example, just for the sake of argument, if moon has traveled half, meaning which 13 degrees and 20 minutes divided by 2, if it has traveled half, just for the sake of argument, in the nakshatra, in Vishakha nakshatra, what we'll do is we will know that the balanced dasha, the complete dasha is 3 years, so the balanced dasha is 1.5 years. So we'll start with that point. So we'll just prorate it just like we did it in the Vimshottari dasha system. And then when we have found out the main dasha, we go for the sub period, and we know that Jupiter's sub is also going to start as Jupiter. So we'll know based on the same prorated calculation out of the sub period. We'll figure out what's the sub period, and then we'll just prorate it based on the sub period accordingly, based on the fact that we know that the Jupiter's period is 3 years out of 36 years, and we'll be able to figure out what's the sub period and what's the sub period. Now, the biggest challenge in this Yogini Dasha is that we have not been able to figure out a good software which can do the calculation for us. So you will not find a lot of softwares out there in the market where you can just purchase and just do a calculation based on Yogini Dasha on that. Just don't quote me on that. I think I've not seen any software so far, and I'm sure there'll be people who will be putting it in the form of a software so that this calculation becomes very easy and you do not have to do a mathematical calculation. This is how the Yogini Dasha is calculated based on the principle which you see up on the screen. Instead of 120 years, it is 36 years. Instead of the periods assigned to the respective planets, this is the period assigned to the respective planets, and the sequence of the planets is also different if you compare it with the sequence of the Vimshottari Dasha. And I've also explained to you as to what the scriptures say when Yogini Dasha has to be used. And like I said, there have been a lot of positive feedback as far as the accuracy of the predictions is concerned if you use Yogini Dasha, and as what has been mentioned in the ancient scriptures about using this, especially in Kali Yuga. So hopefully you enjoyed this little video. Go home and do a little practice on Yogini Dasha and see how this Dasha works in your chart, your friends' charts, your clients' charts, whatever, and if you're able to make accurate predictions based on Yogini Dasha. So hopefully you enjoyed this video once again, and in the meanwhile, I would recommend subscribe to my channel, check out my website, there is a link below, and I'll see you with an interesting topic on Vedic astrology very soon. Goodbye.